I did a live called 5 Ways Women Feel You're Unintentionally Being Creepy. And in that live, I was talking about how there was a guy that had met a woman on a Monday, I think at like a dance place or a bar, and they got along great. And then but he didn't get her information at the time that he met her. So he decided to look her up online, and he found her Instagram and wanted to know if it would be cool to reach out. And so I did my whole show about talking about that, and then 5 other various ways that men could be unintentionally creepy. Because my thought process was, you met the girl in person, and then you didn't get her information then. So just going online randomly to try to reach out to her, that could be seen as creepy, because what if she doesn't want you to have contacted her? Or what if she's thinking like the picture I used was a guy at the computer desk I'm looking her up. And if she has that visual of you doing that in her head, it could be seen as creepy. And I had a guy comment under the video that I think warrants going over, because his experience of doing that is opposite of what I talked about in that video. So he said, in rebuttal to that, it's only creepy when the woman doesn't find you attractive. In that situation, the woman wasn't attached to him from the jump. I've had a similar situation before. I was talking to this girl for 10 to 15 minutes. It was just a basic, regular conversation. I didn't flirt with her and didn't ask for her number. One day, I randomly found her on Instagram and I followed her. And not only she followed me back, but also liked 4 of my pictures. I sent her a DM and went straight to the point. When are you free? Let's grab a drink. And we started dating. Not one time did she think I was creepy, and she was actually glad I found her on Instagram. So, I read that, and then I had conversations with a couple of women this week when I asked them, hey, would you be offended if a guy just randomly reached out to you on Instagram or Facebook or whatever to try to get your number? And a lot of them said, actually, I don't think it would bother me too much, depending on how he hit me up, And so, I'm 42, guys. I didn't grow up in the age where there was texting. Social media wasn't a thing until really 2003, 2004, when MySpace hit, and then Facebook hit, and now they got a whole bunch of them, right? And so I didn't grow up in a time where you just randomly hit somebody up. I couldn't just go in the phone book, find a phone number, and then be like, hey, I'm holding the phone like this because today we hold it like this. Hey, so-and-so, you don't know me, but we should totally go out. That wasn't a thing. So, hearing words I followed her, I stalked her out, those terms make it sound like that is the worst thing to do, So I want to add a bit of an amendment to that, because hey, as I've told you guys before, I give you guys advice on here, and but I always tell you guys, I am still always constantly learning, constantly evolving. If I come across information that I find is the opposite of what I'm saying, I will research that and say, okay, well, is there any validity to that? I found in this case that this is one of those things where it's not, because of the current generation coming up, where they've grown up with Snapchat and WhatsApp and all these things, people are just used to, hey, I see a pretty person on a thing, let me just send a little thing that says, what's up? And that's apparently a low stakes way to see if somebody's interested in having a conversation, and then going into actually talking to them. I didn't grow up in that era, so I had no idea. So I will say this with that said, because based on these situations, I would say it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world if you meet a woman in person, you've had a rapport with her, and then maybe you forgot to get her information, and then you decide to hit her up. I'm going to say that's not the worst thing. But even with that, be mindful of how you're hitting these women up. Because in this guy's case, he says, hey, I found her online, so I started following her. But then even with that, what did he do? He waited until she liked some of his pictures back, and then the first message he sends is, hey, when are you free? Let's go out. So he didn't spend his time dilly-dallying in the social media, trying to build up more rapport with her online. He went straight to the point, which is they've already had conversation in public before, so he knew I could hit her up. If she likes me back, then great. That means I know it's on and popping, and went straight to asking her on a date. So this whole thing you guys have of I gotta build consistent rapport and I gotta stay in social media. It's one thing to hit a woman up on social media or Instagram or whatever. You're liking her picture, you're following her. If you're just keeping it at that and you're not actually making diligent moves towards moving this to an in-person meetup, then going on social media is still a bad idea, because ultimately you're using it wrong. Whether you're doing social media, whether you're sending messages, the end game of contacting a woman on these platforms is to get a date. So if you're gonna go by the strategy of I met her in person, I didn't get her information, I found her on social media, I wanna hit her up, you should be hitting her up saying either, hey, remember me, or whatever, followed by, yo, let's meet up. That first meeting we had was great. Let's meet up and go on an actual date. Get offline ultimately and try to get more of these things in person. And then when you're in person, for the love of God, get her number this time. Get something that you're gonna be able to contact her in a more direct way than necessarily social media. Although I guess today, social media is also used for that purpose, but you know what I mean. So just wanted to add an amendment to that. Like I said, ultimately, the stuff I teach you guys, it's worked for me. I have found, even at the age that I'm at, I've been able to attract women that are younger than me without having to use social media or things like that. But if you find that to be a viable part of your strategy, just know the ins and outs of how to do that effectively so you get the results that you want.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man.